today we are going to start the chapter number 3 from your NCERT. Okay, chapter number 3 from your NCERT, which is atoms and molecules. Atoms and molecules. This chapter is one of the very interesting chapter from your book, from your syllabus. Okay, so if you read this chapter quite well, you will get to understand how interesting chemistry can be. So very interesting chapter. Just focus, just have focus on this. So let's start. First of all, this chapter starts with two words. One is atom, another one is molecule. Okay, so this chapter starts with two words or two terms, atoms and molecule. So first of all, we will focus on this term, that is atom. So what is the meaning of this term atom? Okay, so as of now we don't have any idea, okay, real idea about atom, but now gradually we will try to develop some idea about this. So if I take some examples, right, example of a matter. For example, three types of matter. Let me write down the name. Let's write water. Let's write chalk. Let's write one more. Suppose air. Okay, so we have written the names of three different kinds of matter, right? Now what will we do? We have the matter, we try to break the matter. Okay, every type of matter we will try to break them. Breaking of matter. So what will happen? They will break, but at a certain point of time. But at a certain point of time, we will not be able to break the matter, right? So we will start breaking the matter. It is breaking, but after a certain point of time, a time will come when we will not be able to break the matter. Okay, whatever the matter might be, we will not be able to break it, right? So what does that mean? We get a piece of matter. That means that is, we have now got a piece of matter, right, which is not breakable. Am I right? Which is not breakable. So that particular piece is known as atom. Okay, that particular piece will be called as atom. So this particular piece is known as atom. Okay, so this is the basic idea that I have given you about atom, right? Now we have to understand some history, where it developed and everything, who told it for the first time, and so on. So let's see a brief introduction. A brief introduction. See, we know different kinds of matters are there, right? So at the earlier time, when people were not aware of some real science, okay, then who used to rule? The philosophers. Philosophers used to guide the society with their knowledge. Okay, they are very learned person, they know everything, they used to guide the society. In today's life, scientists or people from science guide the society, but that time philosophers used to guide us. So philosophers, after a certain point of time, first of all, people used to believe that you cannot break matters are broken, some pieces will be there, but it's okay, that's it. But for the first time, philosophers started to say that yes, you can break atoms, right? You can break atoms, and by breaking you will reach a certain point of time where you will not be able to break that particular matter, and that particular piece of matter and that particular fraction of matter is or will be called as atom, right? The term atom, okay, the term atom came a little bit later. First of all, our very own philosopher Maharshi Kanad, okay, he was an Indian philosopher. He used the term padarth, okay, he used the term padarth. Padarth means matter, right? He told that padarth can be broken, okay, and after certain point of time will reach towards an undividable part, which is known as Paramanu, okay, Paramanu, and this Paramanu is nothing but atom, right? So these were the first terms, that is Padarth and Paramanu, that were used to describe the matter and the atom, right? Maharshi Kanad, who was an Indian philosopher, right? After that means after long time, okay, some Greek philosophers, okay, they used the term atom, okay, and matter, okay, they used these terms, right? So now let's see what are the so-called definition of atom. So it looks something like this. An atom is an undividable part of a matter. Nothing, just this, okay. An atom is an undividable part of matter, okay. So at the earlier time, this was the belief, and that is why as of now we are going to believe that atom is undividable, okay. So when you will grow up, there will be a debate, okay, between on this point, that atom is undividable, okay, atom is undividable. So let's see. So now we are going to see laws of chemical combination, okay. What are the laws of chemical combination? Chemical combination means some atoms, okay, are there, they chemically combine, they form a molecule, right? So before we discuss this law of chemical combination, let me discuss one more thing which I forgot to tell you. That is, these were the things. Atom is the definition of atom. Atom is an undividable part of a matter. See, atoms take part in chemical reaction, okay, and they chemically combine to form molecule, right? To form molecule. So what does that mean? What is molecule? Molecule is the pre-stage of atom. So when we were breaking the atom, when we are breaking the matter, okay, at a certain point of time, we did see that we are not, or we were not able to break the matter, okay, and that particular piece we did say, or we called as atom, right? But right before the atom, there were a certain stage, okay, which you were able to break. You broke that stage. After that, you achieved, or you got atom. So that particular stage is known as molecules. So what does that mean? That means, if we try to summarize the things, matter, okay, we are trying to break the matter. After a certain time, we will reach up to molecule, okay. Now molecules are breakable. Finally, after breaking the molecules, we get atom, right? We get atom. So I hope you have understood what I am trying to say. Let's proceed. Laws of chemical combination. In actual life, there are 5 laws of chemical combination, okay, but in your syllabus there are only 3. First of all, law of conservation of mass. Number 1, law of conservation of mass. Right. So what does that mean? Everyone, I think, knows it. What is this? The law of conservation of mass. It's a quite simple law which says that mass can neither be created nor be destroyed, right? The mass before and after a chemical reaction will remain equal. So what does that mean? Suppose if we write a chemical reaction, you don't know how to write a chemical reaction, so let me show you. Suppose calcium carbonate, or we have to make, or we have to prepare calcium carbonate. For that, we have to add calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. Both of them react and they form calcium carbonate. Okay, now the mass of calcium carbonate is 56 gram, okay, and the mass of carbon dioxide is 44 gram, and the mass of calcium carbonate is 100 gram. Okay, so if you add these 56 and 44, you will see they are 100 gram. So this is basically the law of conservation of mass. Okay, that is, before the reaction or after the reaction, the mass will remain same. Okay, sometimes in real life we can see some violations, but actually this is not a violation. Okay, some mass might be converted into energy, okay, which cannot be the exception, or that cannot be called as a violation of law of conservation of mass. Okay, it can never happen. Keep that in mind, right? So this was the law of conservation of mass. So secondly, law of constant proportion. Law of constant proportion. What does that mean? Law of constant proportion. This particular law says that a chemical or a compound will always consist of the same elements combined together in the same proportion of mass. In the same proportion of mass. Now we have to understand what is the meaning of this line, right? See, if we give an example of water, okay, the chemical formula of water is H2O. Okay, we will definitely see this later on in this chapter, but as of now just remember the water is H2O. Now H2O, okay, 2 hydrogen, okay, and each hydrogen is having a mass 1, and 1 oxygen which is having a mass of 18. Okay, so this is the ratio, right, in case of water. So if we simplify this, we will get to see that it is nothing but 1, sorry, not 18, it should be 16, my mistake, extremely sorry. So it should be 1:8. Okay, just simplified the ratio, right? Water H2O, hydrogen having a mass, each hydrogen, okay, each hydrogen having a mass of 1. Okay, so 2 hydrogen or H2 having a mass of 2 into 1. Right, as of now just remember this. In detail we will see this later on. Oxygen, 1 oxygen is having mass of 16. So just we have tried to calculate the ratio, right? So water is done. So next see one more thing, that is ammonia, NH3. Okay, nitrogen having an atomic mass 14. Nitrogen having an atomic mass of 14. On the other hand, hydrogen having an atomic mass of 3. Here 3 hydrogens are there, each hydrogen is having 1. So 3 hydrogen means 3. So it is 14 into 3 for ammonia. So every time if ammonia is formed, that means the ratio is 14:3, nitrogen and hydrogen. If water is formed, it is 1:8, hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, so that is what is said by this law, that is law of constant proportion. Okay, I hope you have understood. So these were the laws of chemical combination. There is one more law, that is law of multiple proportion, which is not there in your syllabus. Okay, but actually there are 5 laws which we are going to read in class 11 if you pursue with science. Okay, now these are the 2 laws that you have to remember, right? So let's do a problem, okay, a numerical, which will try to make these concepts a little bit easier for us. And this particular numerical says that question number 1. So it's the question which has been taken from NCERT. Okay, it's an NCERT based question. So let's try to discuss this. Hydrogen and oxygen combines or combine, it's a better word, combine in the ratio 1:8 by mass to form water, right? Full stop. What is the mass of oxygen required? What is the mass of oxygen required to form or to react with 3 grams of hydrogen gas? So this is a question which is there in NCERT. Okay, it's an NCERT based question. So we will try to see the solution. Okay, I will try to do the solution. First of all, we all know that we have just seen that during the formation of water, the ratio between hydrogen and oxygen is 1:8. So that is what is given in the question. Okay, for 1:8. So what does this want? Hydrogen is to oxygen is 1:8, which is given, right? Now we are asked that 3 grams of hydrogen is there, right? So if hydrogen is 1 gram, oxygen is 8 gram. So what does that mean? If hydrogen is 3 gram, oxygen has to be 3 8s are 24 gram. So that's quite easy. Okay, very easy things are there, because during the formation of water, the ratio has to be 1:8. So in case of this, the ratio is 1:8. Okay, we haven't changed that. We have only did it according to the question. Okay, so if this 1 is multiplied with 3, you have to multiply the 8 with 3 as well to get the result. Okay, that is what we have done, right? So these type of questions might come in the exam. Okay, so you have to focus on these type of questions. So this chapter onwards, we will be doing some typical numericals, right? You have to do it because these are there in the syllabus. So these numericals are quite easy and quite interesting as well. Okay, and this entire chapter is very much interesting. So that's it for today. For the next day onwards, we will be doing some more interesting things. Okay, so we'll end it today. Thank you so much, students.